I carried you for 9 months. I suffered to raise you alone. But you deny me in front of everyone today. Obina, it's me, your mother.
I don't have a mother. This is not a place for you. Leave me, you leave immediately and stop disgracing me in front of my friend.
Get out of here!
Why would a child deny his own mother? This is not just a story, it is one that will break your heart. Let us watch and see how everything came to be this way. In Umuka, Momankiru was known as the keeper of stories. Every full moon, children would gather at her compound, drawn not by sweets she had none to give, but by the magic in her voice. She would tell tales of Mio, the spirit of the river, and how it taught the first woman to weave baskets. She knew which herbs could lower a fever and which leaves could heal a wound. Though poor as the red earth she farmed, she was rich in knowledge, and this made her indispensable. Her own story was one of resilience. Widowed young, she poured everything into her bright-eyed son, Obina. She worked other people's land, sold her prized possessions, and sometimes went hungry so he wouldn't. When he left for Lagos at 18, promising to return often, she hid her tears until the bus disappeared. That night, in the privacy of her hut, she didn't just pray for his success. She knelt on the packed earth floor and whispered, "Chinik, give me strength to bear this quiet. Fill this compound with something besides memory." In Lagos, Obinas was sleeping in a windowless room in Ajigona, surviving on 1 meal a day, being cheated by his first employer. In that tiny room, he kept a photo of his mother on the makeshift shelf. When his roommate Emeka asked about her, Obina would say with genuine pride, "That's my rock. She carried me 11 miles to a clinic once." His first real success, a printing contract with a bank, coincided with a move to a better apartment in Suralea. As he unpacked, he placed the photo on his new dresser. Then reconsidered. It looked out of place next to his new quartz wristwatch. He moved it to a drawer. For a while, Obina kept his promise after his success. He visited every 3 months, bringing bags of rice and tins of milk. During those visits, he would sit with her on her low stool, listening to village news, even as his eyes wandered to his sleek phone. The change began subtly. On his 4th visit, he arrived wearing shoes that cost more than her yearly income. When she reached to embrace him, he stiffened slightly, his nose wrinkling at the scent of wood smoke and herbs that clung to her clothes. He spent the visit on his phone, talking about portfolio diversification to someone named Tond. On his 6th visit, he didn't come to the village square where she was helping prepare for the New Yam festival. When she found him at the compound, he said, "Mama, all that dancing and drumming, it's a bit much, don't you think?" The 7th visit never happened. He called instead. "Work is crazy, Mama. Next month, I promise." The promises became a chain of broken things. The first lie happened at a rooftop bar in Victoria Island. He was with Connor, a banker's son who moved through Lagos with inherited ease. "So, Chips, your people are from?" Connor asked casually. Obina opened his mouth to say, "Umuka in Anambra," but what came out was, "Oh, my parents passed when I was young. Raised by an aunt in Onitsha." He immediately felt a hot wave of shame. But Connor just nodded sympathetically. "Oh, sorry man. You've done well for yourself, then." The sympathy felt better than the embarrassment of explaining a village mother who washed clothes for others. The lie, once spoken, became easier to repeat. Each repetition layered another distance between him and home. Yet the guilt was a stubborn tenant in his heart. There were nights he'd pick up his phone, his thumb hovering over her contact, Mama home. Once, he even booked a bus ticket online before cancelling it. Next month, he'd tell himself, "When I'm less busy." He sent money instead, small amounts at first, then larger ones. He wrote each payment in a ledger, like a business record. It felt less like care and more like a transaction, as if he were settling debts. 5,000 naira for her tears when he was sick. 10,000 for the wrapper she sold. 50,000 for all the meals she skipped. Eventually, he stopped calling. He stopped picking up his mother's calls too. She sent messages, but he never replied. All he wanted was a new life, far away from the past he felt ashamed of. This went on for a long time. Every night, his mother cried and prayed to God, asking him to bring her son home, even if it was only once. When Ifeoma entered his life, beautiful, modern, and from what people called a good family, Obinna believed he had finally risen to the top. Her parents admired his story of being self-made. He told them he was an orphan who had struggled alone to build his success. They were pleased and loved him even more. When marriage plans began, Ifeoma assumed they would follow tradition. "We should go to your village and meet your people," she said. Fear tightened in his stomach, cold and heavy. "There's no one left, Ife," he replied. "Only distant cousins. And the village isn't safe anymore. There are kidnappers." She studied his face for a moment. Then she said, "All right. We can bring them here instead. We'll do a small traditional ceremony in Lagos before the white wedding." He agreed, even though he knew he would never arrange it. Back in Umuka, news of the wedding reached Momankiru through the village's quiet but powerful gossip. For days, she moved through her chores like someone lost in a dream. At last, she went to see Imata, the oldest woman in the village. She said softly, "My son is getting married, and no one has asked me to bring the palm wine." Imata, her eyes cloudy with age, held Momankiru's hands. "A child who hides his mother is already lost," she said. "But a mother's heart always knows the way." That night, Momankiru struggled with herself. Pride told her to stay back. If he did not want her, she should not force her presence. Love told her something else: he was still her child. Even if he was lost, she had to try. Love won, but it was a tired, knowing love. She packed a small basket with the traditional items: kola nut, alligator pepper, and a piece of white cloth. She knew she might be rejected. But she also knew that if she stayed behind, she would spend the rest of her life wondering if one more step could have brought her son back. The journey to Lagos slowly drained her hope. With every mile, the shining city her son spoke about became just a loud, crowded place, one where an old woman in a faded wrapper was easy to overlook. The expansive wedding tent in Victoria Island stilled. The master of ceremonies, holding the ceremonial kola nut, froze mid-sentence. All heads turned not toward the high table, but to the entrance. Obinna, resplendent in his cream-colored Isego with golden lion heads, felt the world tilt. His hand, resting on his bride Ifeoma's, tightened involuntarily. Then he saw her. Momankiru stood framed by the draped white fabric of the tent entrance. Not as a ghost from his past, but as a living, breathing accusation. She wore the same sky-blue wrapper he remembered from his primary school graduation, now faded to the color of a weak morning sky. Her feet were bare, coated with the distinctive red dust of the long road from Omuka. In her hands she clutched a small, woven basket, the kind used for bringing gifts to ceremonies. She didn't advance. Her eyes, still sharp despite the years, scanned the glittering crowd, the professional photographers, the ice sculpture melting slowly in the Lagos heat. Her gaze finally found him. In her face, he saw not anger, but a heartbreaking question. Then she took one step forward and spoke his name, not the Lagos anglicized Obinna, but the name she had called him since infancy, Obi Mommy. The sound was a key turning in a lock he had sealed years ago. Every eye in the tent now swung to him. Ifeoma's family, doctors, engineers, professors from Port Harcourt, watched with polite curiosity that was beginning to curdle into suspicion. His business partners, polished men who knew only his orphaned by tragedy narrative, leaned forward. Obinna's body moved before his mind could counsel restraint. He stood so quickly his chair scraped loudly on the marble floor. Who is this?" he stammered, the perfect Lagos accent cracking like thin ice. NWAM, she said, louder now, her voice carrying the musical cadence of their village dialect. It is your mother. I have come for your Igbamku. A collective gasp. Igbamku, the wine-carrying ceremony where the groom's family presents palm wine to the bride's family. It was the ritual that should have happened weeks ago in the village, not here in this sterilized city wedding. His mind scrambled. There must be some mistake, he said, forcing a laugh that sounded like breaking glass. Security, please escort this confused woman out. She's clearly mistaken me for someone else. Her face didn't crumple. It settled into an expression of profound, weary understanding. She looked at him as she had when he was a boy caught in a lie, not angry, but disappointed. I bore you for 12 hours in the thatched hut behind your grandfather's compound, she said, her voice now clear and steady. When you cut your first tooth, I was the one who rubbed it with Yuda seed so it would grow strong. When fever took you at age 7, I carried you 11 miles to Mpo and sold my mother's beads to pay for quinine. Do these memories belong to another woman's son? The silence in the tent was absolute. Ifeoma withdrew her hand from his. Obinna felt the scaffolding of his carefully constructed life tremble. In that moment, he didn't choose, he panicked. My mother is dead, he shouted, the words tearing from his throat. She died when I was 8. This woman is lying. The lie, once spoken, seemed to expand to fill the tent. Mama Nkiru took a step back as if physically struck. She looked at him a long moment, then slowly placed her basket on the ground. From it, she removed a single collar knot, placing it carefully before turning away. As 2 security men approached her, she spoke the words that would haunt every person present, a tree that forgets its roots will fall. Then she walked out, back straight, head held with a dignity that made Obinna feel smaller than he ever had in his life. That night, in their honeymoon suite at the Eco Hotel, Ifeoma didn't confront him. She simply asked, who was she really, Obinna? I told you. Don't. Her voice was quiet but firm. I saw your face. That was your mother. He tried to explain the shame, the poverty, his desire to protect her from his unsophisticated past. But with each word, he saw her respect for him wither. You built our marriage on a lie, she said finally. How do I know what else isn't true? Back in Lagos, his business began to suffer, but not through magical misfortune. Obinna found himself making uncharacteristic errors. He missed crucial meetings, forgot important details. In the middle of presentations, his mind would wander to his mother's face as she turned from him in the tent. He began drinking heavily, something he'd never done before. One afternoon, staring at a contract that could double his business, he deliberately inserted an error, a miscalculation he knew the client would find. When they rejected it, he felt a perverse satisfaction. This is what I deserve, he thought. Ifeoma moved to the guest room. Then she moved out entirely. I can't build a life with someone who treats his own history like something to be ashamed of, she told him. What does that say about how you treat our future? 6 months after the wedding, Obinna received a call from Uncle Emeka in Umuka. Your mother is sick. Not hospital sick. Heart sick. She doesn't get up anymore. He drove through the night, the Mercedes seeming more absurd with every kilometer that brought him closer to the red earth roads. When he arrived at her compound, he barely recognized it. The gardens were overgrown. The hut looked smaller, diminished. Inside, Mama Nkiru lay on her sleeping mat. She was shockingly thin, her breathing shallow. Around her sat village women, taking turns fanning her, wiping her brow. When she saw him, her eyes focused slowly. No anger. No reproach. Just a deep, bottomless sadness. Mama. He began, falling to his knees. You came, she whispered. I told them you would. For 3 days, he stayed. He felt sorry for his mom. He tried to feed her the pepper soup she'd made for him countless times. The village watched in silence, not welcoming, not rejecting, just observing. On the third night, as he sat by her mat, she motioned him closer. The children, they ask for stories, she breathed. Tell them about the tree that forgot its roots. Don't, Mama. Don't leave. I have been living since the day you boarded that bus, she said softly. A mother spends her life preparing her child to walk without her. I did not know the walking would take you so far away. She died at dawn, surrounded not only by him but by the entire village. Her death was quiet, like a lamp going out when the oil is finished. Obinna cried throughout the night. He blamed himself for his mother's death. He cried about how he had treated her and wished he could turn back time to tell the whole world how lucky he was to have such a loving mother. But tears cannot bring the dead back. The burial was simple, just as she would have wanted. Villagers came quietly, one after another, to pay their last respects. She was laid to rest with love, surrounded by the community she cherished. Afterward, Obinna did not return to Lagos. He stayed in Umuka, in the hut that now felt too large, hollowed out by her absence.